Hey everybody, listen, there is something that's on my heart that I was thinking about, and I decided I wanted to just share it with you. I'm thinking about looking back as an adult, almost 60-year-old woman. I did say almost 60 years. I'm very close to it. But looking back, I realize, and perhaps some of you are right here, and perhaps some of you are raising grandchildren, raising even young children, and you're able to look now where they are. And perhaps my hope is that you're able to see their giftedness and you'll know what to do with it. You'll be able uh, um, to encourage them in the gifts that you see them operating. Most of the time when you see young people who are doing the same thing, they have an interest in a certain thing, you might want to lean in a little bit. And if you are a woman or a man of faith, pray and ask God, a mother of faith, a father of faith. And maybe even if you don't understand it, start to look to see and pray. I challenge you to pray and ask God to show you how to cultivate the gifts that's in those babies. Because looking back as an adult, I can now see that even when I was in first and second grade, I had some thoughts going on. There were some things that I was interested in studying and writing, reading. I loved to read. It was a thing for me. My mom understood that I loved to read. I would be sitting next to a window, a particular window in our trailer, and I would sit there until the lights came on outside. Wouldn't turn on any lights inside because I was just so intensely focused on finishing whatever it was that I was reading that my mom would get on to me and tell me, Donna, turn some light on. You're going to mess up your eyes. You're going to ruin your eyes, because I would stay at that window and receive that light, the sunlight that came from outside. That's what I love it even today as a full grown woman. I love the early mornings. I love the light that comes in to the room. Right now, I'm really enjoying the light that's coming through this window over here. And it's something that I love. I just love God's light. And so as a young girl, looking back, I know that there were some things like I used to mimic songs that would come on. I would sing out loud, but I was very I was very shy. And there would be times when I would be singing out loud, and disturbing my mother, and she would say, Donna, no, she would say, no, don't do that. Hush, be quiet. But I realized looking back, those were times where I was starting to grow up and desire some of the things that I'm doing right now. I didn't realize then, but I wanted to pause and talk to you and share with you about was the enemy knows that he knows who you are in God. Even if he doesn't know the specific about what your gifts are, he is watching. He is looking to see whom he can devour, where he can pounce, who he can take down. Who of God's children, sons and daughters, children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. He is looking to see who he can take as far away from God as possible. So it behooves you, grandmothers, mimis, nanas, papas, it behooves you to cover those babies now so that the enemy cannot work in that space. He will not have it easy working in that space. As a young girl, when because some of the people around me didn't even understand the giftedness that was in me, they didn't know how to cultivate what was working on the inside. They probably obviously did not even have a clue about what God had put in me. Okay, because if we're not praying, if you are not praying and asking God specifically to reveal to you what it is that he wants you to see, what it is that he would have you to cultivate in the earth, who it is that he would have you to influence, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. And the unfortunate thing, the unfortunate piece of that is for those um, um, you're supposed to help. You're supposed to cultivate. They will be at a loss. But God has an ability and is the ability to bring us back around. Thank God, as I grew up in him, as he saved me and I began to grow up spiritually and began to really go through the struggles of life, even into my young adult life as a woman, even into my 30s, 40s, and early 50s. Listen, I'm saying it. I'm being transparent. Even into my early 50s, finally coming into a place to where I realized, listen, the enemy thought he had me, but I got away. I became so introverted as a young girl, teenager, young adult, not being very secure in who I was because I didn't know who I was. And unfortunately, I didn't have that encouragement that possibly could have cultivated the gifts that's on the inside. So I'm challenging you all who are listening to cultivate the gifts, even within yourself. Allow God, if you are women or men of faith, and even if you're not, trust God. We trust all kinds of things. We trust all types of people. But listen, if you if you are of faith, then you know that you need some godly counsel. You know that those who don't stand in the way of the scornful, the seed of the scornful, you know that if you are getting ungodly counsel, you are already going off track. You know that you are already getting off course if you are getting ungodly counsel. It takes godly counsel to help us to get on the right track, to stay on the right track. That's what this post is about, is just to encourage you to look out in your circle of influence. Look out in your families. Look out across your grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Look yourself in the mirror and begin to know. And if you don't know what it is God would have you to do, what your gifting is. For every gift, there is an assignment. And for every assignment, there is a gift. And if you're not sure what yours is, God is saying, I'm here. If you really want to know, he wants to reveal it to you. He wants to reveal it to you because guess what? Not all of us are going to have the people around us who are adapt enough. Maybe perhaps they're so busy trying to make ends meet for you that they're not able to pause enough to cultivate what's working in you, what's working in your grandchildren. If you are that busy, ask God to make a way for you to be able to bring some balance into your life so that you can pay attention, because it's the attention to details that are so very, very important. The little things, the little foxes spoil the vine. It's the small things that keep us out of whack, that keep us off track. So I'm praying for you that you would hear God today, that you would allow God today to help you to be mindful of your surroundings, mindful of who you are, that he would remind you of who you are. And listen, you've got to position yourself to be able to hear God. And when he tells you, don't go into shock mode. But trust him enough to explain, to express, to reveal to you your next steps. What are the next steps? What do I do with what you've shown me, God? I see my grandchild or my grandson, granddaughter, great-grandchild. I see my sister, or brother. I see them where they are. And I also see where they should be. especially if you're called to a position of leadership, leading someone, showing someone the way, being that godly example. You don't have to have a title to do that. I am aware that there are titles, fivefold ministry. If you know that, if you don't know that, go and look and find out what the fivefold is, the five ministries, titles that God has. You don't have to be in that five. There are other ministry gifts. Go into Corinthians and look at those other gifts of helps and governmental gifts, other gifts of helps within the ministry, perhaps. And you should fit in somewhere in there. But allow God to work it out. And what you don't know, go to him and ask him to reveal it to you. And he may just put you in the path of someone who is well able, who is divinely connected to him, who has a, watch this, right relationship with him, who can guide you and help you and serve as mentors for you, to guide you. Because this walk that we're in right now, this has nothing to do with you and any type of selfish agendas, but it's all about advancing the kingdom of God in the earth. Until Jesus comes back, that is your main assignments that you're expected to carry out. But I realize that sometimes we don't know it until well into our adulthood. And sometimes we don't even, we're so busy living and working that we miss opportunities with our grandchildren, great grandchildren, with your own children. I don't have small children, but I do have grandchildren. And sometimes we miss those opportunities to cultivate their giftedness. And instead, we allow the enemy to get in there and work in that frustration that you may feel sometimes. Oh, they're getting on my nerves. Go outside and play because you need something to do. Well, find out from God if that's a space that you need to operate in and what your role is, because we are responsible, the adults are responsible to train them up in the way they should go. So that's all I have here. I'm hoping that I've said something that has encouraged you to really be able to look back, ask God what it is that you should be doing. He'll reveal it to you. My husband, my pastor, likes to say, God will reveal himself to those who avail themselves to him. All right. Love you. Bye.